And Dustin, you need to unmute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, should we read in that paper first?
Okay, I'm reading in the paper. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Provo Landmarks Commission Chair's statement regarding Open and Public Meeting Act. In accordance with Utah Code 524-2074, I have determined that conducting meetings of the Provo City Landmarks Commission with an anchor location such as the Community Development Conference Room provides a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. These are the facts upon which I've made this determination. Utah has been declared a state of emergency due to novel COVID disease 2019, COVID-19, since March 6, 2020, a disease outbreak which the World Health Organization has characterized as a pandemic. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention states that this COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another. The spread is through respiratory droplets, which an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and it may be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. Federal, state, and local authorities have recommended that individuals limit public gatherings, wear face masks, and follow social distancing guidelines. That individuals exposed to persons experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 self-quarantine for 14 days, and that individuals experience symptoms of COVID-19 self-isolate to prevent and control the continuing spread of COVID-19. Notwithstanding that Utah generally and Utah County specifically have moved to the low-risk yellow phase, reported COVID-19 cases in Utah have more than doubled since May 31st, 2020. Physical distancing measures will be difficult to set up and maintain in the Community Development Conference Room. Therefore, for the next 30 days, all meetings of the Provo Landmarks Commission will be conducted entirely via electronic means. Landmark Commission meetings are broadcast live and available later on demand at youtube.com/users/Provo Channel 17. Agendas and support materials are available at provo.org Landmarks Commission. To make a public comment or to join a meeting via telephone, follow the instructions provided on public notices of each meeting. To send comments to the Landmark Commission or weigh in on current issues, email the Landmark Commission member at dspublichearings@provo.org. Signed by Diane and Bill.
All right, thanks. And so our chair, Diane, isn't here today, so our vice chair, Jasa, is, and so we'll have her, she'd like to read in the first item.
Okay. So the first item is the pamphlet that was done, correct? Am I not seeing that? Okay. 1 second, you guys.
Can you guys see the?
I'm not seeing that. 1 second. I just see the pamphlet as the first item. I don't see. Let's see here.
Do you guys see the PowerPoint sharing?
I don't see it. I just see the pamphlet, and that's it.
The pamphlet's the third item on my agenda. The first item being the Startup Candy Company.
Okay,
Yes.
1 moment, you guys. Let me see if I can find that.
Jasa, are you able to see the screen there?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was looking on my phone to see it for the emails. Clayton, do you want me to read this?
Sure, thanks.
Okay. Clayton England requests a certificate of appropriateness from the Landmarks Commission to make exterior modifications to the Startup Candy Company building located at 534 South, 100 West in the ITOD zone, downtown neighborhood, PLLDR 2020-0233.
Okay. All right, so here's the property location between 6th South and 5th South along 100 West, the historic Startup Candy Factory. I've got a few images here of the building that's being proposed to be modified on the exterior. And there's an image of it more recent. The new owner of the startup building is looking to make some changes along the exterior portion here, and also some interior changes As far as the Landmarks Commission goes, those interior changes aren't under the purview of landmarks, just the exterior of the building. And so those are what we'll focus on today as far as the proposed exterior work to be done there. So, but I just also want to mention that they are looking to do some improvements within as well, but we'll focus on the exterior. The building was built in 1900, and then the offices and printing portion was built on later, somewhere between 1900 and 1925. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1983 and the Provo City Landmarks Register in 1995. The applicant is looking to make some changes to the facade. Here are some elevations. The top one shows the existing and the bottom shows what they'd like to remodel it to look like, as well as a rendering of what that would look like. As you can see, there's some lighting that would be added on to the facade, these sconces here, and as well as some signage that would be added on. There's also some modifications to the fenestrations as far as removing the door, replacing it with window, and taking the existing doorway and enlarging it and changing that, as well as changing the door on the garage there. As far as the lighting goes, staff feels that this is a needed thing that will help create more safety. Signage is important to be able to have as well for a business to be successful. The issues there would just be to make sure that it's placed in a way that it won't damage the historic materials, the brick, and that it won't cover any significant features, architectural features or elements of the building. What's being proposed for the lighting and signage looks like that should be feasible to be able to do that in this location that they're proposing. As far as the enlarging and alterations of the fenestrations, the doors and the windows that they're looking to modify, these are significant characteristics of the building, and altering those, enlarging them or changing them would change that original architecture and run the risk of compromising its historical integrity. And so those proposed changes, staff doesn't recommend that those be approved as part of the Certificate of Appropriateness, but that the Landmarks Commission could approve the lighting and the signage, but not the modifications to the windows and to the doors. Staff has prepared some recommendations and some conditions. So the recommendation from staff would be to approve the Certificate of Appropriateness with the following conditions: that 4 new lighting fixtures on the exterior as shown in the elevations. New signage will comply with Provo City Code 14.23.160, paragraph 1, and 14.38.105, paragraph 4, and a building permit shall be obtained for the signage. Attachment methods to the new exterior features for lighting and signage shall not destroy the historic materials if removed. The exterior fenestrations shall be preserved and not be modified in size or shape. 5, the garage door and other exterior doors may be replaced, but casing and transoms shall be preserved. 6, updated plans reflecting those conditions shall be submitted for approval from the Coordinator's Review Committee. And 7, any changes in the public right-of-way are subject to compliance with the downtown streetscape standards and approval from CRC. So that's the staff report and the staff recommendation. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those.
I have a question, Dustin. Was there a staff report that was sent out to us? I didn't see one. I was just wondering if one was.
I got one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't see one either, so.
Yeah, it should have got sent out to.
It was an attachment on the email.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'll look again. And then also, I've got 2 questions, Dustin, and perhaps we move to the applicant portion where the applicant can respond and make some comments. Maybe that's best for that. But I'm just curious about the is that a garage door? It looks like I can't tell other than the fact that currently there looks like there's panels and then they want to put like a grid. Is that going to be a functioning door or is it just a design change? And then also on the signage for the Vantage, is that from what I understand is we can the way the code works is that we can approve changes as long as it's not permanent. So, and I think you kind of mentioned it, that if the lights and the signage was to be removed, the building would still look the same. Is the Vantage sign removable or will that become a permanent feature? And then of course, I'm curious to know what Vantage is, and I'll like to hear why they want to make these changes to the historic building. So Dustin, you can answer which one's ever.
Yeah, I think your first one about the door functionality, the applicant could probably answer that best. My assumption would be that it is a functioning door.
Is it functioning currently?
It's nodding that it is.
Okay.
The second one, like you mentioned, yeah, about the signage and lighting being removable in the future. If they were removed, we'd want to make sure that they're attached in a manner that they could be removed and not create some major damage to the brick or whatever. So whatever means of attachment should be very minimal and removable in the future. And then I think the applicant can answer about the business as well.
Is now a time for me to answer?
Probably not yet, Clayton. We'll
Okay,
have more of the commission ask their questions, and then we'll have you go.
All my questions are for the applicants.
I don't have any questions.
I just had one question at this point, Dustin. When you showed the older picture, part of it's just curiosity. Which is it the one on the left that's the original building?
Correct.
That one?
The portion
That's the
over there
original.
on the left side of the screen was built in 1900, and then the offices were built on
Okay.
different stages over the next 20 years or so, and then it was all
Okay.
connected in and became one building at that point.
But
An additional question I had was that door that sits up above there. What was its function? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I didn't see anything on that in the National Register description, just that there were no stairs going down to.
It's a big step.
So
I think
my guess
it's
would be,
technically an homage to Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, perhaps. I don't know.
Okay. That was all I had.
Also, Dustin, I got another follow-up. So are the only changes the applicant is requesting for the certificate of appropriateness on the newer office space, but not on the original building? Is that
correct? Yeah, it's just on this portion here. So
starting at the garage, basically, to the end of
that original building that was on the corner of 6th and 1st.
Okay. Could you go back to that previous slide? Okay, thank you. I'm sure I have other questions, but I don't know if they're yet. So Jason, maybe now would be a good time to invite the applicant to.
Okay. How would I do that? You guys just,
Just
I
say
invite the applicant to speak. Thank you.
yeah.
All right, so am I good?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, you guys can hear me well?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, perfect. Is it all right if I share my screen?
Please.
I think so, yes.
Okay, I've got some additional images. I'm getting an error, host disabled participant screen sharing. So in the settings, if you could enable that.
Dustin, is that something that you're able to do? I don't know with the way the city has this set up, if that's a possibility.
Right.
You checking?
Okay, somebody's saying go ahead, Clayton. Yes, okay. Okay, can everybody see this cover sheet?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm representing Hebden Studios. We're a small architecture firm in Salt Lake. We mainly do large residential homes, and then we do some small commercial projects, and this falls in that small commercial project. So yeah, you guys hit everything. I'll run through. Hopefully I can answer all those questions. Let me know just stop me if you have any questions along the way. Here is an updated rendering of what we hope the building can look like. This is taking into account the new Provo City streetscape standards. There's going to be a planting strip along with a bike lane, and no parking on that west side of the street. So this is just kind of an inspiration image of what we're hoping to achieve, as well as some modifications to the signage that was proposed, because in order to meet city code, that did have to go through through sort of a shrinking process. You go forward, this is a small site plan of the project, just kind of basic overall view of it. I can address what Vantage is at this point. Vantage is a pest control company. So they recruit salesmen, they manage their offices from this office, and they have their salesmen throughout the country selling pest control. That is the main point of the changes, is to act as a recruiting tool. So having an aesthetically pleasing building that people want to come work at, as well as providing workspaces within. So I know this doesn't fall underneath you, but it would be a change of occupancy that we're going to be submitting for permit for in the future. So going forward, here's again those two elevations, one of the existing and one of the proposed. As Dustin mentioned, these are the things that we are very happy to comply with, as the staff has found. I would like to contest the changes to the doors, and I'll go through and kind of share my reasons why. So first off, this door, to answer your question, Susan, this door was a retrofitted loading dock. So they pull their pickups or trucks or whatever they were using to ship out the candy to the back of that door, then throw everything in there and drive off. But as you can see from this image, which we've blown up to show kind of the details, you guys can see my cursor, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
You can see the brick pattern here is uniform as you would find it in a normal brick pattern. And then about this line, along with those windows, you can see that the brick pattern becomes jumbled and slightly changed. There was a change that they felt like they needed to get a loading dock. So that originally was a window. So historically, when it was first built, it was a window, and then they felt like, okay, we need to have some more access to that. So they changed it. That's again denoted by this concrete pad that poured over the header of the basement window, as well as you can see there's some damage made to that basement header with that process. To continue with that,
Clayton, do you have any idea when that change was made?
From this next picture, I can get context. This Ford F-150 is the third body generation, which was built in 1947. So this photo was taken at least after 1947. So sometime between 1920 to then is when the change was made. I'm not sure when it was done, but I've been told by the former owners that there may possibly be a picture of it as a window somewhere, but with things like this, they're not positive if they're going to be able to find it. Then another point to address is the new owners are worried about the liability and legality, or the, having an issue of having a door to a 4-foot drop. Addressing that, making sure that they don't have any insurance issues. And the client has also mentioned that if anybody feels like they need to go visit the site, they're willing to pay for time for the council to come and see the site. Anyway, so that addresses the half-level door. I don't know if any of you have any questions up to here.
Comment. I live in the neighborhood and I walk by and it does look to me like there's quite a lot of damage on that above the window and below the door. It just seems like it would be really hard to fix that.
Right here?
Right there.
We fortunately have a large stockpile of brick that is original to the building that is stored on the back side of the building. They have several masonry workers that they have lined up to be able to try to preserve and restore that as it was before. So yeah. Excuse me.
I think you can continue.
Okay.
Dustin, are you, is the city against the door being replaced and a window being placed there? Is that something they're against? Did I hear that, or?
Yeah, that's what the Dustin, you want to answer that?
Yeah, so when I reviewed it, if you see in the staff report, there's the standards and guidelines for historic preservation from our code. There's 10 items there. In item number 4, I think it's relevant to this issue. It says, most properties change over time. These changes that have acquired historic significance in their own right shall be retained and preserved. And so I looked at that with this, because I saw where, maybe a windowsill used to sit, right here. So it's highly possible this was a window when it was first built. But at some point early on, I think they decided that they needed a loading dock or something of that nature. So the building made that change, like it says properties do over time. And so that's part of the history of the building, is that it had that change made to it. And so according to the standards that we follow, it's, those types of things should be retained and preserved. And so I think that tells a good story about how the business probably changed over time. So at this point, going back and changing it, then we end up losing some of that history in the building. The photo that you had up there before, if you want to jump back to it, that photo was from the historic nomination for the National Register. That was taken in 1983. That's what when that image was taken. So
that photo was 1983?
Yeah.
Looks so much older.
It looks a lot older.
So it looks like maybe the 60s or 50s.
So as far as older photos showing when that could have been a window, I haven't seen any. This was other than some really old photos that showed the startup factory before the additions were built. I don't find any other photos that give us a good idea of time frame of when that was, but my guess would be that it was early on in that process. So some of these other doors actually too, if you look at them, I think this door here looks like it could have been a window also at one point.
Which one?
This one here?
Go over to the right side of the truck. one more right there. So yeah, at some point those could have been windows and changed, but I think that also tells some of the story of the building. And so changing it wouldn't be recommended based on our standards and our code at this point.
All right. Should I keep going? I guess, okay.
Well, actually, Clayton, one question. You mentioned that the client or the company Vantage, is it Vantage that's concerned about the liability, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a reason why they couldn't seal up the door on the inside so nobody can actually use the door?
They could. They're also trying to have a balanced facade where this bay of the building is symmetrical throughout. I guess
I figured it was a design request rather than a liability issue.
Right.
Is more understandable. So okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That answers my question.
Then to the second point of the double door, this is the location of that double door that we're proposing. The main design behind that is, if you look at this long facade, there's two sections that appear to be an entrance to a business, that appear to be entrances to subdivided businesses. And this whole space has been subdivided into several different owners. And so the point of having a grander entrance is to be able to break up this, this monolithic building as it views kind of as one piece into what has been created as subdivided businesses. So that is an attempt to break up the scale of the block to provide visual interest as one is walking through the new Provo streetscape standards, to provide more of a visual interest to the entrance, as well as to break up the scale of that monolithic structure. And then these are precedents of the image immediately to the left, immediately to the south, excuse me, of changes that they've done. In the original, let me see if I can find that photo. This was an opening here, right there, and there, but you can see that they've gone through, I don't have a picture of the other one, but they've gone through and retrofitted that to be completely glass, to create a visually appealing entrance to denote where it is, as well as on that south face, another entrance that they did to create that entrance. And the main reason that they're concerned about that is just the tenant that is there now right here, right to the north, is Rockwell Creamery. They have people constantly trying to get to their store from this entrance or this entrance, because there's not a denoted entrance, at least for this building or this building. And this is what that proposed, a zoomed in rendering of what that proposed entry could look like.
Yeah.
So the building to the north is that on Fifth South?
That is on, I believe, yes, it's on the corner of First West and 6th, I believe.
6th would be closer to the train tracks.
Yes, it'd be 5th. You're right. I was thinking the opposite end. Yeah. You're right.
And has Rockwell been there for a while, or did they just start being there?
Yeah, they've been there for several years. They are actually they are business partners with Vantage. So the building is licensed under Rockwell's name. So the new building is.
Jesse, if you haven't been to Rockwell Ice Cream, you should repent about that.
Right.
Their honeycomb ice cream is
So good.
absolutely amazing.
I just missed Startup Candy Company.
Yeah.
I miss Mr. Startup.
Any other questions, you guys?
Was there any more? Clayton?
Say it again. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, no more. There's no more. I just have
Okay.
thank you
Thank
at the
you.
end, but that's about it.
I have a couple questions, Jason, if that's okay. Just two questions that I've wondered about. Clayton, has your firm worked with historic landmarks before? And the second is, how does the customer feel about owning a known important feature of historicity in Provo? I mean, the startup company building is popular, and a lot of people go, and they're requesting to make some pretty severe changes to the historicity of it. How do they feel about owning a historic building, or was it just a building for them? Or
they are very interested in it. One of the owners of Vantage, or one of the business partners for this project, is a part owner of the Draper Old School. I'm not sure if you've been there, but it's an old school. It was built in the same era as this, early 1900s, that they've retrofitted to be an event space as well as office spaces. Really incredible building. And so one of the owners has gotten a lot of love and he's been inspired a lot by these old buildings, and that's why they had their interest in the startup building.
and yet they want to make some fairly prominent changes to the prominent features.
Yes.
And what about you? Have you guys worked on historic landmarks before?
I personally have not. I've only been at Hebden Studios for about a year. I'm not positive if Brian, the owner, has. So no, this is not something we've worked in quite a bit yet.
That's fair. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So I have a question mainly, I guess, for Dustin. It looks like there've been some changes done on the older part of the building with the doorways. Did that go through landmarks, or did that not go through landmarks?
I believe that it did. I think those changes were to the door, not the doorway, is my understanding.
Because it looks like, like that doorway had been widened on the south side.
Can we go back? Can you go back in the pictures there so we can see?
There or there?
There, yeah, this one, the old one, so we can see if it was widened.
Yeah, it looks like it's a wide doorway. The sign's covering it, but it looks wider than the other doors.
It's wide-ish.
My concern is that even when I would go to Startup Candy, it was hard to find the door. That was the only reason why I would suggest that they might want to widen this, because it's so hard to find where you're supposed to go in.
Yeah, and I think with the signage that they're proposing, that should definitely help demarcate the door that people should go in by putting a parapet over the door, which is what they've showed on there. That would help delineate this is an entrance, I think. So
If they didn't do the double doors and did some kind of an architectural door, would that be more acceptable to the city to do something that was, because the doors that are there now, I mean, they definitely need some upgrading. It looks like they've gone through some time.
like I mentioned, the staff with the doors, I don't have an issue with changing the actual door. The casing around the door and then the transoms above it, those look to be original.
Yeah.
The door that elevated door there, it's really hard to tell if that's this same door that we're looking at and just the glass panel has been filled in.
Right.
And if that's just a door from the 70s or 80s, or if that's an original door. That was the only one I'm not sure on, but the other doors are just your standard doors that
Right.
I don't have an issue with the door changing, but the casing and the transoms look
Okay. Okay.
Are you talking about the Stairway to Heaven door, Dustin?
I think he's thinking the Stairway to Heaven door you're talking about, or
Yeah, that door there, you can see in this image, it's got glass, and if you go to the
Oh, I see. Yeah.
image, it's been paneled in. So my thought is that's that same door, but whether or not that door is historic or not is hard to tell.
It's crappy looking. It's really beat.
it's really beat. Yeah.
Another option I guess you could look at on that one could be to keep the enclosure the way it is now, but replace it with glass and have it function as a window. That could be an option that the Landmarks Commission could consider. That way,
Yeah.
you're kind of getting what you're saying. You're protecting people from going out of it, but you're getting light and everything in there. That's an option I think the Landmarks Commission should consider, is keeping the brickwork, you know, the portions of the fenestration there, but maybe taking the door out and replacing it with glass that would match what you're doing on the other doors. That could be a good compromise and option there as well.
Well, I'm glad there's some options for repairing that below that concrete piece, because it really does look in very bad condition.
It does look bad. Are there any circumstances in which the city would consider having it be a window and not a door? I mean, I can see why they're asking for that, because it does architecturally look more,
Well,
it looks more even, and also it's probably more original. I see what you're saying about the story of how it evolved into a door too.
And that's our motive, to preserve the history of the building.
right.
Yeah, I don't think by making that whole thing a larger window, it's something that wouldn't be, you could always revert it right back to a door. But if you go in and add brick back in, then I think you've changed it and kind of altered that. So just taking the door out and putting glass in, and I think that's a good option.
I
As
appreciate
opposed
that.
to going in and filling in brick and changing it from what it currently is. I think that's falling more along the guidelines that we have established in our code, as far as not modifying things too much to where they've lost their historic integrity and things like that. So,
Clayton,
So I
how
have
do
two
you
comments. We don't
think,
know when that happened, and we don't even know the story about the door. We just have to assume we know the story about the door.
Clayton, how do you think your customer or your client would feel about making that whole space a window? Would that be acceptable to them?
I wouldn't be able to answer for them specifically. I
Sure.
know that they wanted to push for that window to be reduced in size. I'm sure they'd also be happy with whatever the Landmark Commission is able to give us.
Okay.
Jasa and
Yes.
Dustin, seems like we have two issues that we can move forward on. One is the lighting and the signage, which is in agreement with what the applicant has proposed, and the other then are the fenestrations and the doors. And I'm wondering if we aren't ready at this point to make decisions on both of those issues.
Dustin, are you ready? I believe we're ready to go forward with the lights and also the windows.
and being a public hearing, we should open it up to public comment too. So if we can jump back to Clayton, if you can give the screen back, we can open up.
Clayton, we see you, but what are we looking for? Is the drawings or?
I was just gonna go to this screen here 1 minute.
So we do have the comment from Kathy Brimhall about the little signage that's there by the DUP.
Correct, yep. And so Jason, since it's a public hearing, if you wanted to open it up for public comment, the screen shows how people could contact us.
Okay, and how would I go about stating that we're opening it up for public comment, you guys, since it's the first time I'm reading this?
Just
You
like
just
that.
did.
Okay, there we go. Thank
There
you.
it
I
is.
appreciate your guidance. Thank you. Let's
And then
open
we-
it up for public comment.
And then we'll just give it a minute and see if there's anyone that is calling in. Now, do we have any?
No colors at the moment. 10 more seconds. Okay, no colors.
So I guess I would like to ask Clayton. Kathy Brimhall was concerned about the DEP little marker that's on the building. What was the client feel about that marker?
Oh, they love it. They'd like to maintain that. I need to get that onto these elevations. You're talking about the plaque, correct?
Yeah, the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers plaque.
They would love to maintain that, definitely.
Dustin, is this building on a national register as well as the city?
Yes, it's on both the national and the local.
Okay.
It's put on the national in the 80s.
Yeah, right. And then local in 95. That's right.
All right.
Well, I'd be willing to make a motion if we're ready for that, at least a partial motion. Is that okay, Jessica? Can I?
Yes, yes, please go forward.
I move that we at least, I move, maybe we have two parts.
Right.
I move that we accept the staff's recommendation in approving the certificate of appropriateness for the lighting and the signage for the startup building. That would be the first part, I think. Am I missing anything there, Susan, that you can think of?
No, I would second that.
That's basically all right. Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the
Can I-
second part of the motion?
Can I make a clarification on that portion?
Yes.
So the staff recommendation, I don't know if you've got that in front of you, Matthew, but
I do.
so items 1 through 3 are related to the lighting and the signage. So your motion would be with staff's recommendations 1 through 3.
Yes, that's right. I just scrolled to that part of the
Okay.
staff report.
And I would still second that.
All in favor?
Oh, yes.
Aye. And what was the second item you wanted to make?
Well, I'm not sure if I know how we should move forward with the second part. I just wanted to get at least the part that I think we were
Agreed.
united on at least. As far as the windows, doors, I'm inclined to also adopt the staff's recommendation that those certificates of appropriateness not be approved. I think that the historicity of the building is too important. I think when we've discussed other ways with like the window, making that door a window and other things, but I think making that a double door entry, I understand the reason, but before that, it's a historic building and it goes to the historic landscape of that neighborhood, and I don't want to be part of the commission that changes that. And the same thing for the stairway to heaven door thing. But and Clayton, I think that's what your clients ought to start calling that, just so you know.
Yeah.
But
I'll pass that along.
I won't make an official motion on that one.
I agree.
I don't know how Susan or Jessa or Jesse, I don't know how you guys feel about.
I agree with you. I'm hesitant to make it a double door from a single door. I think it should stay where it was. I mean, I'm more lenient on the stairway to heaven just because I feel like it doesn't, or just architecturally, I like evenness and like to go back to totally original, but I also want to honor the story. So I think that's also important. So I see both sides of that one. But I think it's better to err on the side of caution in that circumstance and leave the door as the door. And like Dustin was saying, maybe allow it to be a window that's maybe gridded and beautiful and iron or whatever the same, consistency, that the rest of the windows are going to be, so that it looks nice and it's, maintained nicely, but keep it as the same space and not fill it in with the bricks, like we were saying. So I agree.
So the recommendation then would be that items 4 through 7 in the staff recommendations would be retained as written.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, because
That's what the proposal would be.
yeah, I'm fine with the garage door being replaced. That doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not going to change the facade.
I agree. And it needs to be changed.
Yeah.
It's in rough shape.
Agreed.
Susan, do you want to make that? Jesse, how do you feel about all this, Jesse?
I oppose. I think they should be able to change that door back to a window. Just
Okay.
because I see the
But the
damage.
full-size window, not the smaller window.
I would prefer that to the same window. That's just my view.
I lost
I
you,
can't
Jesse.
hear.
That is my view, that it could be back to a window, which is, I think it was originally a window.
Oh, so you feel like they could break it up the way they want to do it?
I think I would prefer that.
Okay.
Visually, I prefer that too. I just,
But historically, I don't. Visually, yes. Historically, no.
And
Yeah.
since we don't really, since it was changed at some point and we don't know when, how recent, that's just my view.
Well,
But when it went on the National Historic Register and the Historic Register of the Landmarks, it was there, and that was a part of the historic record at that time. And so
Yeah.
that's where my mind goes.
me too.
Well, you can't always preserve the history.
But we can sure try.
No?
That's right. So is anybody making a proposal then for the,
I think you are, Susan.
well, except that we have some exceptions here, but I would propose that we agree with numbers 4 through 7
Real quick,
of the
Susan,
staff recommendations. Yes.
Justin, do we need to invite any public comments for this part, or are we
We already opened it for
you already
public.
opened it? We're good? Okay. Okay. Sorry, Susan. Keep going.
No, that's okay. I've stumbled my way through staff recommendations 4 through 7, and I propose that we approve those recommendations as written.
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay. 3.
Jason, where were you at? I didn't hear you.
I'm so torn right now. Yeah, because I see both sides on that. The window, the door window thing is the one that's it's holding me up a little bit.
Well,
I
my
want
one,
to err on the side probably of caution on this and keep it, but like I said, have it where it can be fixed and look better than what it is.
yeah.
Because it looks crummy the way it is right now.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to go back to it being a window. But I also, like I said, I like the history of that being a door where the candy was able to come out. That's kind of cool. So I think I'm gonna say yes on this one just because it's erring on the side of caution. But hopefully it'll look still very cool if they can do a cool window there that's larger and keeps the space.
I would think there'd be some kind of an action that if they have trouble repairing the building, that it's important to repair the building rather than to save something that cannot be repaired.
Yeah, I was noticing on the transom above the basement window, the bricks are kind of obviously falling apart, and there may be structural integrity that's increased by having more of that double arch or triple arch of the bricks. Did you notice how one of those was taken away and they poured a slab of the cement over that brick arch? Did you notice that? Can we go back to that picture?
And that's what I noticed when I walked by, is that it looks like that concrete has compromised the brick beneath.
Right, and that's my fear is if that brick is on there, it's pushing on that window arch, which is really beautiful. It'd be nice also to have that arch come back the way it was, and not have a disintegration in the future. Can we zoom in on like that? Do you have a newer picture of where the door threshold hits that bottom basement window at all?
This picture just has that truck right in front where we want to see.
I know, what the heck?
I have that larger image if you'd like to see it
You
again.
do. I saw it someplace. I know I saw it. Could we go back to the larger image where we saw like the window, I mean the door hitting right where the basement window was?
Right.
There's like a newer image.
That one.
Mhm. Totally.
And
But
you
you
were
see
going to
how, like,
repair that.
They're gonna repair that. But that
Mhm.
would that be a sufficient repair where it's not gonna keep putting pressure on that window arch?
So can I make just a point of order? Just so we had a motion, and I think we all voted. Dustin, where are we at on that? Just so we know if are we still in the middle of that, or
That
is it
motion passed
okay?
3-1, so.
This is continuing conversation about other options for them, in spite of.
The vote.
Right.
I'm just making sure that I know where we're at on that.
It's my problem. I threw it in because I just am concerned about the structure of the building.
Yeah, if
I
there's
agree with you,
structural-
yeah.
If there's structural issues, they could come back and ask for a certificate of appropriateness to, redo some pointing on those bricks and something like that there, because obviously in that spot the grout is all coming out, so that could be something in a separate certificate for something
Okay.
like that.
Okay,
That's
that
good.
works. That works. Okay. So to go forward, what do I say to go forward, you guys, the next subject?
Done.
You can go to item number 2.
Okay, let's go to item number 2. And you have to-
Are you guys? How did you catch all that? Any questions about?
Just the appeal process or opportunity or things like that.
Dustin?
Yeah, so the Landmarks Commission, you can appeal that, and I can get you that information later if that's something you want to do.
Clayton, I would encourage you to be very careful about appealing, just because we don't want to lose that building,
Right.
on the register, because it's an important building. If there are other solutions that your clients and you come up with, I'd be happy to see other possibilities. Maybe now that you kind of had a better feel for what our approach is and how we're looking at things, maybe that will inspire some other ways of creativity to bring something else, another solution that maybe we hadn't thought of yet.
Right. In the meantime, are we allowed to go forward and get a building permit for the interior changes that we're proposing, or is this the first step that needs to be done?
Yeah, so I can work with you after this meeting on all of that stuff.
Okay.
We won't hold up the other items that we have, but I can talk to you about all that stuff.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton.
Thanks, Clayton.
Okay. Now, do we have the agenda we could pull up and move to the next item?
Okay, item number 2, elect new chair and vice chair.
And Clayton, if you want to, sure can. I mean, we're happy to have you here, but we don't want you to feel like you have to stay.
Okay. Thank you. So, Dustin, can you get a hold of me after this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clayton.
Thanks.
Okay, item 2, elect new chair and vice chair.
Any nominations?
Well, Matthew, are you sure you don't want to be the chair? Because you are kind of like, very knowledgeable, and well, everyone's very knowledgeable, but I know that you have a
Flattery
voice
gets,
about many things.
flattery gets you a lot of things.
It gives me, I hope it gets me ice cream.
Are you nominating him, Jason?
I nominate Matthew to be chair, and I loved it. And I know that Diane said she thought I should be chair, but I feel like I'd like a little bit more. I mean, like today, I have a hard time leading a meeting because I just don't know what the protocol is on many things yet. So to be fair, I'm nominating Matthew to be chair, and yes.
And I second that.
Thank you, Susan.
And I nominate Jason to continue on as vice chair.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I second that.
But I'm not 100% sure, but I think
I guess we have to start with the chair first, right?
Yeah.
well, I think it's for a period of 1 year. I
Mhm.
don't know that you're supposed to serve twice.
Oh, right. It's
Oh, I
been-
served twice. It happens all the time.
It can't happen otherwise with this small of a group.
Yeah. I served 2 years in a row.
I just thought that was-
We're all taking turns here. Once I learn all the language, I'm happy to step in, but I feel like there's so much I need to learn as far as like, okay, it's this person's turn, and you know, all these technical terms. So.
If it's any consolation, last time I was chair was my first meeting or my second meeting there. I got elected chair, and
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
so. But I'm happy to serve. It's been a while, and that's fine.
Ready for a vote?
I vote yes.
I vote for Matt.
Yes. Are we
Yes.
voting chair and vice chair?
I think we're doing chair first, right?
Okay. I vote yes.
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 Okay.
Is Jesse here?
I voted yes.
Oh, okay.
So I've got that as 4 votes for Matthew as chair.
And for vice chair,
Jason.
I vote yes for
Yes.
Jason.
Thanks, guys. Happy to be vice chair.
I do as well.
Okay. And tell me again who nominated and who seconded vice chair?
Susan nominated.
I think
Jay?
Matthew nominated me as vice chair.
Yeah.
No, I did, and Matt
Oh no, sorry, Susan.
seconded it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Jason nominated me for chair, and Susan seconded, and I
Right.
nominated Jason for vice. And
No, I nominated and you seconded. We'll get this straight, yeah.
We'll get it straight sooner or later.
We need a lot of help.
I can't wait till we're all in person, you guys. I get
I
a little
know.
confused on the Zooms. Yeah.
Robert's
So
Rules of Order.
Susan nominated Jason for vice chair with Matthew as a second.
Right.
And then all voted in favor of it.
Yes.
All right. And then item 3. Or
I don't see item 3 on there. Can you put it on the screen?
It's the pamphlet.
Oh, the pamphlet.
Yeah.
I don't see it on there on here, but yeah, the pamphlet. I read over that. It's really beautifully done. Who did the pamphlet? Matthew.
We worked on that for about 2 years.
It's beautiful. It's really well done.
Our holdup, Jason, was that we've had it ready for almost 2 years, but we didn't have the funding to get it printed. And its design, it was designed to, when you're visiting with neighbors and that, or when we're having the tour and we have these available, that people have some understanding of what they would be getting into if they
Right.
decided to nominate their home for the landmarks. And they could see some of the benefits for doing it.
And so if I just chime in here on a note on that. So if you recall, we requested a grant to be able to have a reconnaissance level survey done for the East Central Historic District and to be able to expand that area. And so we received the matching grant, has been allocated for us, and then now we're just waiting to find out if we have our side of the match, which I should hopefully find out soon. We're just going through our budget cycle with the city, so as soon as I find out about that, if that gets approved, I was thinking, you know, if that area expands, this would be a great tool to be able to take to those new properties that got identified and be able to let them know what options that they have to be able to, list their homes, because they'll be in a historic district at that point if that all gets done and approved. This would be a good tool, I was thinking, for them as well. So
It would be.
The only-
Dustin?
So the only change I think that absolutely has to be made to the pamphlet is the Clark Taylor home needs to be removed from the top center, because they removed them from the register. And
Oh, yeah.
they're not
Yep.
they're not on the register anymore, which I'm still not pleased about.
Where is that one?
Why
Oh,
did
I
they
see
take
it right in the top middle row. Yeah.
Why did they take it off the register? Do you know?
Because of that
Oh,
balcony.
yes.
Oh, because the balcony in the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wanted them to, it needs to be made of wood to be historical.
Okay.
And as I recall, and the wood, it would have been just fine, but they really wanted iron, and they went,
okay.
they voted, and they went to the city council, and they appealed and went to the city council and got their house removed from the register,
Okay.
which is why I was telling Clayton that we want to encourage them not to appeal yet, because we don't want the building to be removed from the register.
Oh my gosh, no, that'd be horrible. I love the startup
Well,
building.
not the
I mean, it's
startup.
significant. Yeah. So,
So
okay.
anyway, so we need to change that photo. But there's Dustin, you can pick another house, but we had to put Randy's house on.
Oh, yeah.
Most of these houses look like they're on the west side. We gotta get a few more on the east side.
okay.
I know mine's not on the registry yet. You could put mine up there, but it's not on the registry. It's not on the registry.
We need
Randy's would be a good one because it's a little different architecture than any of these that are listed. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a
Well, and
great
ours is the only, what is it, Dutch colonial eclectic in the city.
Hmm.
idea.
Anyway, but yeah, I think Randy's ought to go up there.
Okay.
But other than that, I think everything else is fine.
I have a question, Dustin, that's only peripherally related to the pamphlet. You mentioned the funding, and you mentioned that it was designed for expanding the East Side survey. I thought it was the third phase of getting everything on, or am I just misunderstanding? I thought we were trying to update the registers themselves, and that we were going back to that original person who did that survey.
Yeah, it's two parts. Yeah, it's updating.
Oh, okay.
And then the other was looking at expanding the historic district. So I just mentioned expanding it because that would be a whole new group of homes that get some kind of review done on it, and gives us an idea of which ones are potential listings and things like that to go on. So those would be, I think, if we get that done and have that information, then that would be people we'd want to take the pamphlet to and introduce ourselves, let them know what options they have. That, the pamphlet on this side has all sorts of information of how they can apply for tax credits and things like that. So
Are those pretty easy? Those the National Register ones? I know that. Are those pretty simple for people to apply for, and do they get granted very often? And how easy are?
Yeah, they gotta meet the criteria and everything. If they do, we can try to help out where we can and point them to resources that are available to help them as well. So there's professionals that are great at going in and finding all the historic data and everything to prepare that to get those listed. So
it looks like the State Historic Preservation Office is the one that they would go through for the National Register. Yeah.
And I worked for that office, and it just sort of depends on how the committee feels at the moment. Once you've done the research, whether they decide they want to put it on or not.
That's encouraging.
So if this pamphlet, other than the picture that Matt identified, is ready to go,
Oh, there's another thing that needs to get changed too, probably.
okay.
Sorry, Dustin, you want to look on the second page of the pamphlet, the third trifold thing, the how do I designate my historic building?
Yeah.
That column. So,
Yeah.
in spite of me voting to keep that Stairway to Heaven door the way it is, I do think aesthetically pleasing things are important. The number 1, number 2, number 3, the number 1 should be dropped down. It shouldn't be up there with the official designation process begins with you. There should be a period there and a hard enter to bring number 1 down, just like number 2 and number 3.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Does that make sense, Dustin?
yeah. I don't know how we didn't see that. Yeah.
Pulling after you and then 1 on the new line.
Yeah, or I put a period after you.
And you'd have enough room to do that in that column.
Yeah.
But that's not a complete sentence, so it should be a colon because this.
Yeah, you're right.
Process begins when you, 1, submit, 2,
Yeah.
be a colon.
Jesse, it's like you're an editor or something.
Yeah.
Done that before. And also, it doesn't look like there's any double spaces ought to be removed and changed to single space. It looks like there's a double after some of the semicolons in age, integrity, and significance, but nowhere else. So that ought to be standardized. Sorry, I'm a nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Where was that? Sorry.
In the
Age, where it says on the first one, it says age, integrity, and it's just the spacing is not the same.
Yeah, that's all. Thanks, Jesse.
Just need a copy editor.
That's why we're reviewing it. So I appreciate it.
Jesse, you said that wasn't a sentence. That's a sentence, isn't it? The official designation process begins. It should be with you.
No,
And then it makes it a sentence.
Well, when the way it's been, this official designation process begins when you, and then you start with
Right.
number 2.
And I was reading it as though that were a with, and that would be a sentence then.
But when it's a when, it's saying these are the 3 steps you need to take.
Yeah. Either way is fine for me. But yeah.
Either way is fine for me.
Okay. So if we make those changes and it's ready to go, is a matter of funding at this point?
Yeah, I just need to figure out printing and then I guess get your thoughts, or do we want to hand them out, have them available, mail them out, wait until the historic district reconnaissance level stuff's done and then go out? What are your thoughts on that? So I'm sure we can get people volunteered together to go hand them out. Or
Well,
we can always have them here available for when people come and ask. We've got one to hand to someone. I think that's easily done. I think we'll do that no matter what. Once we have it done, I'll have a bunch on hand here at the city to hand out. But as far as getting them out, other options, I guess we would have.
Dustin?
Yeah.
As I recall, this whole thing started with a couple of neighborhood chairs. It was the Joaquin neighborhood and another one. And we had a neighborhood representative that came and worked with us on this pamphlet. So it strikes me that maybe some of the neighborhood chairs or somebody in these neighborhoods where especially we'd be looking ought to be a part of this and ought to be aware of this pamphlet.
Well, and to that point, I mean, I wonder if we ought to get some homes that are maybe mid-century.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
You know, in photo representation, because, you know, we go up to the tree streets, and which their homes are all eligible now, or a lot of those are. they're going to see this. They're going to think, so I've got to have a 100-year-old house to do it.
It'd be nice to have a few mid-centuries in there. I agree.
Yeah.
And then also, I'm looking at the photos again. So on the first page of the pamphlet, you've got both Sarah and Callie Hales. They've got their testimonials,
Mhm.
and both of their homes are on the front page as well. I wonder if we ought to keep their homes on the back with their testimonial and replace those homes with the homes on the front page with other homes. So that way there's only one photo per home on the pamphlet.
Good idea. Good idea.
But I don't know if we have to. It's just, again, that's just me. So
I like that idea of having some more mid-century too.
Do you guys want to email me, since it looks like we'll replace 3? Do you guys want to send me 3 to,
yeah, like Jasa, your
Cool
home.
mid-century ones. Do they have to be already on the registry, or they can just be cool?
I think if you are comfortable with your home being on the pamphlet,
Yeah.
then I think we ought to.
You guys will be very happy. It's getting repainted right now, so it's going to be like extra sparkly on the pamphlet. Yeah, it'll be done being painted. And like, when are we going to print on this? Are you?
I've got a bug out. I've got people at my front door and no one else is home, so I got to go. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Dustin, am I okay to leave?
sure.
Okay. Good luck, everybody.
Okay. Bye,
Okay.
Matthew. Okay, so you guys, when are we going to print on this? I'm happy to put my home on there as well. I'm actually honored. But it's probably a couple weeks away from looking amazing. So do we have like a few weeks before we go to print? Do we have a month before we go to print? What are we thinking?
Well, yeah, I guess, so that was my question. Assuming we had funding right now, how are we getting this out to the public, and what makes the most sense? I don't want to hurry up and print it and then have it sit there and maybe
I'll
get
just-
outdated, or because I had to update
Yeah.
it.
All dressed up and nowhere to go.
So if the idea is to wait until we have that expansion area done for the East Central Historic District, that will be has to be done in a year from now. Not saying it will take that long. I don't know how long that will take, but other than that, like
Well,
I said,
another logical place to give these out is at the historic tour itself. Because
Yeah.
people pick up the pamphlet and they'd love to pick up and see something like this, I think, along with the neighborhood chairs.
That's a good idea. So it won't be so it'll be during the historic home tour in about a year's time. Then is what we're thinking. And that'll give us time too if we have extras printed. I mean, if it's not too hot one day, we could go door to door and drop them off, and have a dialogue with different homeowners. That might be nice, depending on how many more there are that we're dropping them off at. How big is a section that we're including now that wasn't included before?
I believe it's going to be like 500-ish homes.
Oh, that's a lot. It's a lot of door knocking.
Not that all of them would be candidates for,
Right.
So
Right.
what we would do is we take the list that gets generated from that and find out which ones are significant or contributing or things like that, and then maybe target.
Do you think the
those.
list is like 75 or 50? Do you think it's about that many or less?
Yeah, I would think somewhere along that, or maybe a little bit more. It's hard to.
Okay. I mean, if it's that many, that you could probably do that in 3 days between a few of us if we went together as teams and dropped them off at people. So we could do both. We could do a little. It'd be nice to engage the community and have a dialogue, because I know when I look at this, even though it states everything so clearly, I personally still have questions. When I look at those things, and like how easy would it be, or whether how restrictive is it, or there's a lot of things that they might want to talk about that we can talk to them about. So I think that's probably more effective than just handing them out. But it's nice to have both. We could do this and engage, and then also have the home tour where we're handing them out, and they can approach us separately at that time as well. What do
Yeah,
you guys think?
the other option too is also have digital means, so we can put it up on our landmarks website. And
It should definitely be digital. I mean, that should for sure be on digital someplace so people can
right now, so
download that for
that's
sure.
easy. I just don't want
Yeah.
to print 1,000 of them and then something changes or whatever. And but yeah, the digital one, we can have that up and make changes to it whenever we see something that needs to be changed. So
Yeah, that would be awesome. Digital is important.
Yeah.
So
That could go up fairly soon, actually. Once we get the pictures and some other things change, that could go up quite soon.
yeah,
get a couple mid-centuries, and then my house
Mhm.
will be done in a couple of weeks, and we can put all those up there. So maybe even like we could make a plan of next, like in a month's time, switching out the pictures and getting it on. So maybe the next meeting, that could be our goal, to have that, to have some
I can put that
houses.
there right now and then I can get those, we can change it. And then, so it sounds to me like printing it, there's not an immediate need to print. So that
Mm-mm.
sounds to everybody.
Especially in this heat, if we're door knocking, like it's so hot. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
And then, yeah, so I'll work on finding out how much it will cost to print and find out where the money will come from to do that.
Okay.
I go from there, I guess. But digital, yeah, we can have that up and modify it whenever we need to.
So maybe we can work on getting the pictures, and then do we know which mid-centuries we're thinking of, Susan? Have you guys thought about which mid-centuries you guys want?
No.
Okay. I mean, I can drive around in the tree streets and see. Maybe Matthew could drive around the tree streets too and see which ones, we all like, and bring it to the next meeting and see if you guys like them, those specific ones, and we can approach the owners if you think that they're candidates.
One of the houses we thought of doing was Marion Wardle's. She used to be on Landmarks. They're in Asia now on a mission, she and her husband. But if we can see what her address is, hers was quite an interesting one. It's not on the register, but it would be a good one, I think, to put on a picture of it. And she'd be fine with it, I know.
Mute myself. Do we have a list of like the significant mid-century moderns any place? Has anyone made a list of those?
I don't know if we have anything broken out by style. So
Okay. The architecture. Okay, I'll just drive around, and maybe Matthew can drive around. All of us could drive around and pick out ones that we think are historically significant, and then look it up and back, look it up against our records and see if it fits the criteria, and then approach the owners accordingly. What do you think?
yeah, that'd be helpful. If you guys
Okay.
want to get together and figure some out and send them to me, I can add them.
I'll drive by and take a picture of a few that I think are significant architecturally, and of course you can have mine. So that should be good, and then we can hopefully have a plan for the next meeting here next month. Maybe put them all on and get them online, because online's great, especially now.
Yeah.
So, could you guys also make some kind, when we put it online, could we do some kind of an announcement someplace that we have the criteria online so people know it is there?
Announcement to landmarks.
No, like with Provo City, do they do little like announcements or on their Instagram and on their Facebook things, let them know that the criteria is posted, and we encourage, how much we value history in Provo, and they can go in there and look on there and participate.
Like the email that I got.
Hello.
Okay, yeah, I can look into that too.
And I think, do we have anything else to bring up, you guys?
I move we adjourn.
I vote we adjourn too.
I vote that.
Let's go get some lunch. Where's our lunch? I loved having lunches together, you guys. I missed that so much. Okay, I second that motion
Okay.
for adjourning.
Then I'll be leaving.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.